In this tutorial for Shape version 5, we're going to deal with the new Texture Modifier, which allows you to add complex structure to, for example, a spherical shell as we have set it up here in the 3D view, or based on an image that has been produced externally in an image processing program such as Gimp or Photoshop, or from an observation. We can extract structure from an actual observed object and transfer it to an image and pass it on to our 3D model. And to add a texture modifier, we go to the Modifiers tab in the 3D module, click on the Add Modifier button, go down and select Texture, click OK. So the texture modifier is added to the modifier list. Give it a name, like in this case we're going to apply a patch of knotty structure, and as usual the modifier can be enabled or disabled. It can be applied to different variables such as the density, which is represented by n, temperature, pressure, speed, or the different components of the velocity, which might be important for initial conditions for hydrodynamical simulations. And we can apply it replacing previously existing density, or edit or scale in an existing density pattern. We can apply it radially if we select this flag for radial. It then projects it from the center of the object into the radial directions. Right now, if we leave this out, we have a flat projection. We then select our pattern, texture image PNG in this case, can be several image formats. Then we open the widget, edit the widget, and click on display. Then we see our widget arrows, which give the direction in which it is applied. In the top view, we can already see our little patch. In our observational view, it is seen edge on, so we can't see the image. So let's rotate our widget in the widget dialog 9 by 90 degrees. Now we can see our pattern here. Let's maximize our render view. Here, this is our complex pattern that we will apply to our density. Now let's make it a little bigger. We can adjust the width and the height of the image, and then render. Currently our density distribution is uniform on this sphere. If you render this now, we have a more complex density distribution in this area of the projected square image. Now we have replaced the density, so everything that has been there has been replaced by our density distribution, which isn't very high anyway. So let's modify that. Okay, we now change from the operation from replace to add and re-render. Now we have kept our previously existing spherical distribution, but just added this patch. Now it's still very weak, and we can increase the importance of this patch by modifying the magnitude of the distribution, where we can apply any function to the intensity in the original image. X is representing now the intensity of the image, where white is a higher value. It goes from 0 to 1. Let's multiply that by 10. It's a linear fit. We could actually do something more complex, times x or square it. Apply, done. Now re-render. Now we have a very intense high density clumpy medium here, and if we want to apply this radially, we click on radial, re-render. Now we will see something unexpected. Now one hemisphere is darker than the other. This is because our widget is still in the middle of the coordinate system, so there's no distance. For radial projection we need some distance, and we can now go to our widget manipulators here down here, click on move, and drag our widget out in any direction. Maybe rotate a bit. Something like that, and re-render. Now our patch is correctly applied, radially projected, so there's a slight distortion at the edges. If it's too big, you can just change the size. You can actually distort it in one direction only. Okay, let's put this to 70. They don't have to be the same. Re-render, and it becomes smaller. Okay, you can actually, in the dialog for this texture, you can change the bounds for the maximum application in X, Y, and Z. Translate it by numbers, rotate it by numbers, scale the widget. Might be necessary sometimes to make it more visible. And that's about it. Okay, there's one more important function. Here's auto update. When you can edit these images in an external image editor like Photoshop or Gimp, save it, and it is then, when you start this button, every 1 second, in this case every 1000 milliseconds, the image is read. So if you edit the image in the editor, you can save it and it's automatically updated. Then you just click on render to see the updated rendered result. This allows very precise manipulation of the structure according to some observation, including when you have in the background your image, your observed image, you can precisely change your structure to what is observed in the original. So that's the basic function of our new texture modifier. Really a very powerful modifier to add more realism to the objects that you're modeling. Thank you.